You are 50 years old, standing in front of your bathroom mirror at 6:12 on a Tuesday morning. Your knees feel fine. Your back is only mildly offended by existence. Your phone shows 2 notifications, one from your retirement account and one from your manager, asking whether you can join an early meeting. You have enough money to leave your job today, but not enough to guarantee that nothing will ever go wrong. On the counter, beside the toothpaste, is a resignation letter you printed last night. In one future, you sign it. In the other, you decide to work 20 more years. In the first future, you enter the office carrying a cardboard box. Your coworkers gather around your desk and tell you how jealous they are. Most of them mean it. A few are already calculating how many years remain on their own sentences. You return your laptop, surrender the badge that has opened the same glass doors for 23 years, and walk into the parking lot before lunch. Nothing dramatic happens. No choir appears. The sky does not recognize your financial milestone. You simply sit in your car with nowhere you are required to be. In the second future, you fold the resignation letter and place it inside a drawer. You tell yourself that 50 is young. Your job is tolerable, and another year will make everything safer. One more year means another salary, another employer contribution, and one less year your savings must support you. The math is comforting. It is also extremely talented at disguising 20 years as a series of reasonable 12-month decisions. At 51, the retired version of you wakes without an alarm. The first few months feel illegal. Tuesday mornings belong to grocery stores without crowds, coffee shops without laptops, and roads without traffic. You begin walking every day because time is suddenly available before your body has to demand it. Your health app celebrates achievements that would have embarrassed your younger self, but you accept the digital fireworks. You are no longer trying to survive the week. You are beginning to notice it. The working version of you receives a promotion. The salary increase is substantial enough to make the decision feel correct. Your retirement projection rises. The line on the screen bends upward like it personally approves of you. The new role also adds meetings, responsibility, and a permanent low-grade tension behind your eyes. You buy a better office chair for your home. Money does not remove the stress. It just gives it lumbar support. At 53, the retired version of you books a month-long trip during the cheapest season. You choose dates based on weather instead of vacation approval. You carry your own luggage through train stations, climb old stone stairs, and spend an afternoon lost in a city where nobody knows your job title. The trip costs more than expected. Every restaurant appears to have formed a private alliance against your budget. You check your account from a hotel room and feel the first sharp edge of early retirement. The balance is no longer being repaired by a paycheck. You return home and begin watching the market more closely than you intended. A bad month makes ordinary groceries feel expensive. A headline about inflation follows you into breakfast. You have time, health, and freedom, but every dollar now belongs to a supply that must outlive you. Retirement has removed your manager. It has not removed uncertainty. Meanwhile, at 53, the working version of you receives another direct deposit. Market declines feel temporary because new money keeps entering the system. You increase your retirement contribution and watch the projection recover. Financially, the extra years are doing exactly what they promised. Emotionally, Monday still arrives with the efficiency of a debt collector. Your friends begin dividing into 2 groups. Some are still working and can meet only on weekends. Others talk about retiring someday, with the distant confidence people use when discussing learning Italian. As the retired version of you, you send messages on Wednesday afternoons and receive replies hours later. You have escaped the schedule, but most of the people you love are still inside it. Freedom is more complicated when nobody else is free at the same time. You try filling the empty space. You volunteer. You take a class. You repair things around the house that have survived years of deliberate neglect. For the first time since your 20s, nobody needs an answer when they ask what you do. At first, this feels liberating. Then it feels strangely uncomfortable. Your career took your time, but it also gave every weekday a shape. Now you have to decide what the day is for. The working version of you does not have that problem. Your calendar remains full enough to prevent philosophical emergencies. Coworkers need you, younger employees ask for advice. Your experience has value, and being useful feels good. The office gives you structure, status, and a social circle that arrives automatically every morning. It also consumes most of the hours when your energy is highest. At 55, the two versions of you wake on another Tuesday. The retired version is packing a small backpack for a mountain trail. The working version is packing a laptop for a quarterly planning session. One checks the weather, the other checks traffic. Both believe they are protecting the future. Only one is spending the morning while the body still makes the trip without negotiation. At 57, the retired version of you knows the price of freedom more clearly. Your account is lower than it was when you left. Not dangerously lower, but visibly lower. You have learned that a long retirement is not one vacation. It is groceries, insurance, property taxes, repairs, and 20 ordinary years arriving 1 month at a time. You begin declining some trips, not because you cannot afford them, but because every large expense now has to compete with decades you have not lived yet. Freedom gave you more choices. It also made every choice feel permanent. The working version of you is earning more than ever. Your mortgage is nearly gone. Your retirement account has grown large enough that the numbers no longer fit comfortably inside your imagination. You could leave now. You know that. But the finish line has moved again. 60 sounds cleaner. Social Security will be closer. Healthcare will be easier. One more promotion could add a surprising amount to the final balance. Safety keeps improving, which is inconvenient because it never becomes complete. At 58, your retired life develops a rhythm. You spend mornings exercising, afternoons helping family, and evenings cooking without checking the clock. You are present when a relative needs help after surgery. You can drive a friend to an appointment. You attend school events, weekday birthdays, and funerals that working people enter late and leave early. Nobody puts these moments on a retirement projection. They do not compound financially. They simply become your life. The working version of you wants to be present too. You send flowers. You make calls from parking lots. You answer family messages between meetings. Your salary supports people in ways your time cannot. When someone needs money, you can help. When someone needs Tuesday afternoon, you usually cannot. You are building security for the people you love while repeatedly asking them to wait until your calendar becomes less secure. At 60, both versions of you receive the same invitation. A close friend is planning a long road trip across the country. In the retired future, you say yes before the message thread becomes complicated. You already own the time. The trip is slow, cheap, and occasionally uncomfortable. You sleep in average hotels, eat at roadside diners, and discover that your friend has developed an impressive ability to complain about pillows. You return with hundreds of photos and a minor argument that becomes funny 6 months later. In the working future, you open the same invitation during a meeting. You calculate vacation days, project deadlines, and the professional consequences of disappearing for 3 weeks. You suggest joining for one section of the trip. Then a client crisis arrives. You promise there will be another opportunity. The friend goes without you. For several months, the photos appear online. You are happy for them in the specific way people are happy when they also feel slightly robbed. By 62, the retired version of you has fewer professional contacts. Former coworkers stop inviting you to events. The industry changes its language, software, and priorities without asking permission. Occasionally, someone calls for advice, and you enjoy being remembered. More often, the phone stays quiet. You have gained control over your time, but lost a role that once proved your relevance every day. You discover that purpose does not arrive automatically with free time. It has to be built, and apparently it does not offer onboarding. You begin teaching a weekly class at a community center. The pay is small enough to be almost decorative, but the work matters to you. People expect you on Thursday mornings. You prepare lessons, answer questions, and return home tired in a satisfying way. It is not your old career. It does not need to be. You finally understand that retirement is not the end of usefulness. It is the end of someone else deciding where your usefulness belongs. At 62, the working version of you becomes one of the most experienced people in the office. Younger coworkers trust your judgment. Managers depend on your memory of mistakes the company is preparing to repeat. You have influence, income, and a reason to get dressed before sunrise. But recovery takes longer now. A stressful week no longer disappears over the weekend. Sunday becomes less of a day and more of a waiting room for Monday. At 65, the retired version of you looks back on 15 years outside full-time work. Your savings have survived recessions, inflation, and several repairs that arrived with theatrical timing. You have spent more than planned in some years and less in others. You are not poor. You are not completely relaxed either. Early retirement gave you time, but it required you to live beside uncertainty without a salary to silence it. Your body has changed, but gradually. The walking habit became part of your identity. You still travel, though the itineraries are slower. You choose elevators more often and stairs when pride wins. Some of the adventures you had at 55 would feel reckless now. You are grateful you did not postpone all of them until your joints began participating in the budgeting process. The working version of you reaches 65 with a financial position that once seemed impossible. The mortgage is gone. Your retirement accounts are large. Your benefits are stronger. You could stop with a level of security the retired version never had. But the job has become deeply attached to your identity. Leaving now feels less like ending employment and more like removing the structure holding the week together. You decide to continue, not necessarily until 70, just a little longer. The phrase sounds familiar. At 67, the working version of you opens the retirement app during lunch and sees a number that would have looked impossible 20 years earlier. The mortgage is gone. The account has passed every target you once wrote down. Your future income is stronger, your margin for error is wider, and another year of work will make both slightly better. But the extra money no longer changes how you live. It does not create another room in the house, another meal you enjoy, or another hour in the day. It simply makes an already safe future safer. While your mornings continue disappearing into traffic, meetings, and passwords, you are asked to reset for reasons known only to the universe. The retired version of you has less money and more evidence of where the time went. There are photos from trips taken while you could still carry your luggage without negotiating with your lower back. There are ordinary memories too. Weekday lunches with family, long walks, quiet mornings and conversations that lasted because nobody had to leave for work. Early retirement was not a 20-year vacation. It included market drops, expensive repairs, and nights when you wondered whether freedom had arrived too soon. But the uncertainty lived beside a life that was already happening. At the office, you begin paying attention to the difference between being needed and being trapped. Younger coworkers still ask for your help, and part of you enjoys having answers that took decades to earn. The work gives the week structure. It also takes the hours when you feel most alert and returns you home when your energy has already been spent. You once believed you were protecting your future self. Now your future self is sitting in the meeting, waiting for the protection to become usable. You ask to work 4 days a week. The reduced paycheck looks strange when it reaches your bank account, but nothing breaks. The bills are paid. The retirement balance continues growing, only with less enthusiasm. Friday morning arrives without an alarm, and for several minutes you lie in bed expecting guilt. Instead, you feel relief. You go to the supermarket while the aisles are quiet, meet a friend for lunch, and spend the afternoon walking through a neighborhood you have driven past for years. One free weekday does not look dramatic on a spreadsheet. Inside your life, it feels enormous. A year later, you reduce the schedule again. This is not the retirement you imagined at 50, and it cannot return the years already traded for more security. But it gives you a softer exit from a career that has become part of your identity. You keep the work you still value and release the parts that survived, mostly because nobody had questioned them. Your income falls, but so does the amount of Sunday spent dreading Monday. For the first time, the job fits inside your life, instead of your life fitting around the job. The version who retired early had to solve the opposite problem. Without a workplace assigning meaning to every weekday, you had to build purpose deliberately. Some attempts lasted. Others became abandoned hobbies, stored in a closet beside equipment purchased during a brief and expensive period of optimism. Over time, you found a rhythm through teaching, helping families, staying active, and being available when people needed more than a text message. Freedom did not automatically create a meaningful life. It gave you the time from which one could be built. At 70, both versions of you stand before the same bathroom mirror. The person who retired at 50 has spent 20 years drawing from savings and living with the possibility that the money might one day become uncomfortable. The person who kept working has a larger account, stronger benefits, and fewer financial reasons to worry. But the comparison is no longer happening between two balances. It is happening between two bodies, two calendars, and two collections of memories. The early retired version remembers arriving in unfamiliar places with strong legs, carrying groceries for an aging relative, taking trips without counting vacation days, and watching entire seasons pass at a human pace. The working version remembers promotions, direct deposits, projects completed, and the reassurance of never having to wonder whether next month's expenses could be covered. Those years were not empty. The career provided relationships, pride, and stability. It simply charged more time than the paycheck ever admitted. You think back to the resignation letter beside the toothpaste when you were 50. At the time, the decision looked financial. Leave with enough or stay until you had more. 20 years later, the hidden part of the calculation is finally visible. Money could be saved, invested, and replaced. Healthy years could only be used or lost. Retiring at 50 carried the risk of having too little money for a very long life. Working until 70 carried the risk of building a very secure future, and arriving there after many of the experiences you wanted had become harder, smaller, or impossible. One path made uncertainty part of daily life. The other turned delay into a habit that always sounded responsible. The question was never whether money mattered. It mattered every month, in every repair, medical bill, and market decline. The question was how much security had to be accumulated before another year of your life became more valuable than another year of growth. At 50, you were waiting for the account to tell you when you had enough. At 70, you understand that the account was never capable of answering.